Tonight's stories.
Winning.
Declined.
Giving.
Demoted. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Comfort Level Podcast. I'm Maddie, and I'm here with
Brandon.
Sam.
Steph.
Steph is back in the building.
Yes, he is.
Steph is back in the building. It's winter time.
It is winter.
It's a Saturday morning.
In my finger.
What else, guys? What's going on here?
They cut the cap.
Yeah. Actually, the way you raised your hand, I thought you were going to hit me. I thought you were about to demote me from this podcast.
Like this first story.
Do I have power to do that?
I think you
shouldn't
do.
have transitioned like that. Now that power is going to go to my head.
You have a lot of power.
Demotion.
Oh my God.
I'm ready. Demotion.
Next episode, I'm just your footstool. And I'm like, hey, I think I
Hey,
have an
Ottomans,
opinion about that story. And he's like, shut up.
Shut up.
You're like, hey, Ottomans, I have an opinion. You're like,
Yeah.
Brandon's like, I don't care. The
I don't
cousins don't care.
Sometimes he's nice and he puts the mic by my mouth, but most of the time he's like.
And it's like when you're like breathing heavy too. So you're like trying to move it away.
So I do think he's the asshole because of.
Okay, so this first story is, am I the asshole for refusing to demote my dog after my sister gave her baby the same name?
Demote my dog.
My dog. How do you demote a dog?
He was the head of the household. Like, you're demoted.
Like, does this mean changing the dog's name?
I assume so.
If anything, you could say the same for like a human being. Like if someone picked John and someone else like came by with John and they maybe didn't know each other or whatever, it's like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna change your name from John, so this could be Jack now. Or
Yeah.
that's not how it works. There's no difference with animals. You can't just change
Actually,
their
that happened with
name.
my coworkers. They just had a baby, and the wife was like, "Oh, we should name them this," and he was like, "Oh, that's my coworker's name," and she's like, "Well, I really like it. Like, just because I happen to be at a job with the same person's name, you can't name your kid that now."
No, unless you really hate that coworker, I guess. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I was going to say there's a name that I loved when I was younger and I really, really wanted to have that as a potential baby name. But there's somebody that I know from Brandon that I do not like, and that's their name. I don't want him to think that he had
Their
anything
name,
to do with
I want
it.
that name, and I'm taking it.
I don't know. It's just like he's still close to the family where I'm like, I don't want him to think that he had any
He's involved.
involvement in it. And he's like,
He was
oh, it's named
inspired.
after me. I'm like, shut up. She was not named after you.
And he 100% would say that. Too.
Yeah.
That is, without a doubt, he would say that.
Yeah. Am I the asshole for refusing to demote my dog after my sister gave her baby the same name? I, 26 female, have a dog named Charlie. Charlie is a golden retriever I adopted 4 years ago, and he's my best buddy. My sister, Emily, 29 female, recently had her first child, a baby boy. She and her husband named him Charlie. At first, I thought it was funny and didn't really think much of it. But then Emily pulled me aside during a family gathering and said it was confusing and quite disrespectful for me to keep calling my dog Charlie now that her son has the same name. She asked me to rename my dog. I told her no. Charlie has been his name for 4 years. He knows it, he responds to it, and it's on all of his paperwork. Changing it would be weird for him and for me. She got really upset and said it's not fair for her son to share a name with a dog, especially in a family setting. She thinks it'll lead to jokes and confusion as her son grows up. My parents weighed in, and while my dad says it's ridiculous to expect me to change my dog's name, my mom says I should just consider it to keep the peace. Now Emily's barely speaking to me, and a few family members think I'm being stubborn. I have no idea how I'm in the wrong here. The world's gone crazy. I love my dog, and I didn't name him to spite anyone. I also think it's not my fault they chose a name already in use in the family. Am I the asshole? No.
oh, absolutely, right? For sure. Yeah, no, definitely not.
Say the A word with me. Audacity.
Dang,
Not
I did
asshole.
I did not know where she was going.
I know. I was like, that's a leading thing.
Audacity.
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 Yeah. I think, you named your child after the dog was already in the family.
Right.
If you were to be so embarrassed or you thought it would be so weird for your child to grow up and be like, oh, where's Charlie? Oh, I'm talking about the dog. That's your fault. That's your problem. You named your son after a dog.
Right.
Well, that's what we'll say. That's exactly what we'll say.
Yeah.
You named it after me. That's how Charlie's going to walk up to that baby one day, golden retriever. Charlie. And he's like, Charlie. And the dog's like, Charlie. And then walks away. That's a 28-year-old dog right now. You're going to change his life.
You can't.
Oh, I'm so dead.
And then the mom trying to keep the peace. I feel like as we read more of these stories, and I have that own family member in my family where they're like, just keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're like, don't rock any boats, even though what they're doing is a problem. But if you rock the boat and she rocks the boat, then it's really going to be a bigger issue. So like, just kind of let her get her way, keep the peace instead of fighting for, honestly, what is the right thing to do? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrating those family members that are like, just keep the peace.
But I have to question, especially as like from the mom's perspective, I'm like, I bet the sister who named the dog or named the child, what seems like after the dog, was the problem child growing up.
Yeah.
So maybe. I can understand where it's like,
just always picking an argument.
She, you know how she is. Just let her do her thing. Like maybe consider it, you know, like just to be easy and done with. And like, at least they didn't go after her and be like, yeah, you're wrong for not changing the name of your dog. Like,
yeah.
You know.
I think, honestly, I understand that situation more. I think that's exactly how it is. But I think the problem is the mom not addressing the person who's creating the problem instead of the person trying to be like, well, why do we need to change this? And they're like, no, just go with the flow. It should be the person of like, come on, girl. You named daughter number whoever, my favorite, maybe, problem child, maybe. Mm-hmm. You named this person after there was already that name in the family.
Right.
How can you expect her to change the name instead of, which I don't know why, I guess maybe it is just easier to just push instead of fight, but I think that is kind of how it probably does really go.
And then in the end, though, appeasement doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'm at least glad for this story that it's not everybody against OP. Because I feel with a lot of these stories, it seems like crazy scenarios like this will happen. And then everybody's on the crazy side of things and we're all like, what is wrong with your family for not supporting you on this? So at least that's good.
It seemed like there was enough people though that were not on the side. Because it was other family or friends or whatever that were on the side of the other sister. It seemed like there was at least
I think the mom was just doing the appeasement. That was the only thing. Everybody else.
No, I think at the end there, she said even after the parents had talked, there was like other people that were like, "Why haven't you changed the dog's or your dog's name?"
Oh,
I thought there was.
So the dad was definitely on her side. A few family members think I'm being stubborn.
Yeah,
I have no idea if I'm in the wrong here. You're not. So a few family members, mind your business, family members. Okay.
Because when I hear a few family members, I'm like, that sounds like extended family.
Yeah, like aunts, uncles, maybe siblings.
Maybe, but...
Okay, I'm surprised that we went through the story this long and we haven't talked about this exact thing happened to us. Okay, when I first met Maddie, my name was Husker. And I said, you need to change your dog's name or I walk. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I changed my name to Sam.
And honestly...
And you're my cousin. You forgot my name was Husker?
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, if I can be honest, too, that was already a problem. He's like, I want to change my name to Sam. And I'm like, I have a cousin named Sam.
And so we had to make the
so
Sam 1, Sam 2.
legally, your name is actually Sam 2.
Yeah, it is legally Sam 2.
The spelling is different. Sometimes it's TWO. Sometimes it's TOO. It's like Sam 2.
Sometimes you throw
Sam also.
Sam also.
Sometimes you throw the pound like number sign in there
Yeah.
as a 2.
There's something in there. But
Why am I not named Sam also? I don't know why I love that. Sam also.
I'm Sam also.
Next time she's on, it's Sam 1 and Sam also.
Okay. So your
Wait,
your real
wouldn't it just
name.
be Sam and then Sam also instead of Sam
No,
1?
she's still Sam 1 because she
Okay.
legally got her name changed
Yeah,
to
to
Sam
Sam
1.
1.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
neither. But, finding out true things and then I'm just running with it.
But it's just to see him, like, he doesn't even know what he has.
And he's sleeping peaceful about it.
He took my inheritance, to be honest with you. Get my inheritance.
Hey, he's winning. Like this next
Like
story.
this next story.
That was good.
Okay. Am I the asshole for refusing to give my lottery winnings to my family after they excluded me from a family trip? I, 28 female, come from a family of 5. My parents, my 2 siblings, 30 male and 25 female, and me. Growing up, I was always the black sheep. My siblings were the golden children. While I wasn't outright ignored, I definitely got the short end of the stick. A few months ago, my family planned a big overseas trip. I found out through my sister's Instagram posts, not from them directly. When I asked why I wasn't included, my mom said, "We didn't think you'd want to come. And besides, we're tight on budget." It hurt, but I let it go. Fast forward to a month ago, I bought a lottery ticket on a whim and ended up winning a life-changing amount of money, over $2 million. I decided to use the money wisely, paid off debts, invested, and set aside some for fun. I didn't tell my family right away because I didn't want them to treat me differently. Well, word got out after I bought a new car, and now they're furious I didn't offer to share the wealth. My mom said it's selfish to keep all that money to myself when they're struggling. News to me, given the vacation. My sister hinted that I should pay for her student loans, and my brother outright asked me to buy him a house. I calmly explained that I wasn't obligated to share just because we're related, especially given how they've treated me in the past. I mentioned the trip as an example of how I've been excluded. My dad said, "That was different. This is family money." Now they're all calling me an ungrateful brat and saying I'm ruining the family dynamic. Am I the asshole for standing my ground and not giving them any money?
So it's family money when I win the lottery, but when we're doing a literal family trip
We don't have enough.
with the money from the family,
Yeah.
it's not family money.
There's
and
not
it's
enough.
different.
And it's not even like you're a random
part.
cousin. You're a child of theirs.
Middle child.
Probably, yeah.
It was 20. It was 30 and 23.
No, she
and-
was she is the middle.
She's 25.
25,
She's-
28, and 30.
Yeah.
Oh, she's 28.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was 25. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. See, still.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And also, like $2 million, a lot of money.
But really.
Now it's actually not truly, I think it is a life-changing amount of money if you do the right things with it. But the things they were saying, because honestly, you're probably getting 60% of it. So you're getting probably like,
Let's say $1 million. Let's be generous.
$1 million. Your family wants you to buy a car, pay off car loans. Like that will deplete the money.
And also a house is probably half of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want a good house.
Yeah. So there's a lot
Where
of
do you,
things
where do you
that
live too?
Yeah.
it's not all that much money. And I don't even think the amount of money matters, but I almost can't afford it. I wouldn't do that for someone that I don't really have a good relationship with. Like, just because we're family doesn't mean that you've done the things to make sure this relationship's strong. And I feel like I would help you out.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not in the wrong at all.
And I can understand, like, if OP was like, I want to give to my family. I want to give them shares. I remember you said, I don't know if you were serious, but you're like, if I ever win the lottery, I want to give you guys some.
100% I would.
And I was like, I did ask for some, but you were generous in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
That's fine, right?
Yeah.
But if you also didn't give me any money, I'd be like, Sam's just going to buy me a drink every once in a while. And that's fine with me.
If I won $2 million, the number would go down. I would give you like
The number will go down because
20,000 or
even
something.
here in Nebraska, $1 million.
that's good.
So like an average house, like a little bit of above average house in Nebraska, I feel like, can I say is like 400,000? That's a good above average house.
Oh, above it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I was going to say average, but
Average is probably like 250.
203.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be able to find a decent, like above average.
Yeah.
For 300, but
Yeah.
Because even in
depends
my
on how big you want it,
neighborhood,
though.
it's
Yeah.
like 180, 200 in my neighborhood.
Let's say she gets half of that. $1 million, depending on where you live, really isn't that much money. It's a great amount of money
It
for
is.
one person.
For one person, it's amazing.
And she sounds like she's doing a lot of great things. She's paying off debts, she's investing, and she's keeping some fun money.
yeah.
But to share that with four other people, so 5 people total, that's not really that much. So even it just doesn't really genuinely seem like the smartest things to do. It wasn't really on your heart to give it in the first place because
Right.
these, like you said, they're family, but you don't have a relationship with them, with people that you would genuinely be interested in like investing in them or giving them some type of money.
Right.
So it's not your fault. And then them trying to like guilt trip you into paying them money is
Right.
crazy.
We struggling.
That wasn't a family trip. That wasn't a family trip. But this is family money. This is family
And
money.
even if like she did decide to share, it would be more like reasonable for like what Sam said.
Yeah,
Like,
not a lot.
20,000 or whatever, rather than buy me a house.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
No, I'm not buying you a house. You, like, I don't care if the house costs $10,000. I'm not buying you a house.
And also, who told you that I won the lottery?
Right.
Well, they bought a car. OP bought a car.
But who?
Oh, I guess so maybe they
how did
answered it. Unless they're
mean,
like, where'd you get the
they
money to
said
buy
word
this?
got
They came
out.
with a Lambo, and they're like, "How did you get a Lambo?" You're like,
Hey, Lambo, I seen one the other day.
Really?
I did. Mhm.
should have bought an Accord, right?
You should have bought a Honda for sure.
Yeah, a Honda.
Honda for sure.
The reliable.
And if you want a nicer one, get an Acura.
Get an
Honda
Acura.
makes them too.
Yes.
Same makers. Acura is a very nice car.
That's what I want.
I think whenever
Maddie,
my
why did
Honda
that
gives.
Honda person leave the house when I came in?
What do you mean?
They bought an ad on this podcast because you were really pushing Honda this all day.
So Acura is actually the
Oh
sponsor.
my gosh! Even before the podcast, she was telling me to buy one. She's a company woman. You don't owe your family anything.
No.
I think even in life, you can just say generally, you don't really owe your family anything.
You don't.
Yeah.
You might feel an obligation.
Yeah,
Some
you feel
people.
an obligation, and usually in good families, you
want
do want
to.
to help them because you have shared a lot of things, and it's mostly positive, and you do want to share that. So it's on you. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't have to.
And in some circumstances, if you look back at your life and you don't feel any obligation to your family, then that says something too about how your family raised you, where you're like, I don't feel like I was necessarily like taken care of that
Yeah.
well or appreciated, to the point where when it comes to feeling like I'm obligated to take care of you or give my financial assets to you to help you, I don't feel that way.
But I also want to say on the other side of the extreme, if your family pulled you out of something, you not like, I mean, you don't owe them, but you owe them a little bit, like.
And that's all
Because if you
subjective.
right? But if you put yourself in situations, they pulled you out, and then you're like, all right, bet I'm out. Like, it's like, yeah, you don't have to like specifically give them something just because they're asking for it. But it's like, maybe you should really consider.
But I will, like, because we're talking about a different situation, I'm assuming. Or are you talking about with OP right now?
No,
Because I would
I'm
say
talking the reverse side of OP. Like
Okay.
OP, let's say, put themselves into like a bunch of different debt and problems and stuff or
Yeah, that's
whatever. And like
different.
that's what I'm saying. Because I'm like, if your family has literally pulled you out of things, like you don't like specifically owe them, but at the same time, it's like you should think about how you can do stuff for them if you're in that situation.
Kind of what Maddie was saying. If there's so many, if you get that much money and you're like, I'm not even considering it, something happened.
Right.
Yeah.
But then at the same time too, maybe this was just the final straw. So them going on the vacation is like, okay, this just proves everything. But we're not getting the rest of her story. Like all the years of stuff that could have happened.
Oh, no, yeah. OP said they were always the black sheep. The other two were always the golden children growing up. They always got a lot more things than like they would get. So it's like, obviously there's something there where whether the parents purposefully or just accidentally or even didn't alienate OP, but just made OP feel alienated, whatever it is, there was definitely something that like was more than just a family trip.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the family trip is the exact example of what happened before.
Yeah, that
The
too.
mom saying that we just didn't think you would go doesn't make any sense to me. If we're in the same family, then anyone should go who's in the family, or at least be asked. So it like almost proves that, yes, there was something that happened throughout their childhood that I am not on the same level as my siblings.
So this next story is, am I the asshole for declining to fix the errors I made in a blanket I crocheted for someone and just taking it back instead?
Interesting. What kind of errors?
Was
Misspellings.
let's say, was it like
Misspellings.
was it a gift?
I made a blanket for my sister-in-law, Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She asked for it to be certain colors. I didn't have any other projects on my to-do list, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colors already too, so it worked out. When I gave it to her, she was excited and she started to look it over. And I figured it was just to see how it was all put together since she doesn't crochet. After a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket, but she couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I made along the way. I asked her what she meant, and she pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done 1 row of striping instead of 3 for 1 section. I'd switched to the wrong pattern and threw off a pattern at some point, etc. She handed it back to me and told me that she loved the progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished product. And I told her it was finished. She looked down at it and said that it wasn't done until it was perfect. And I'd made several mistakes and that I could easily go back to correct it. I honestly was dumbfounded by this. I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her for free out of my own free time because I love her. I told her that, and she said she knows and she loves me for it, but she wouldn't be able to use it because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes.
Oh my God.
I said, whatever, and took the blanket back and said that if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said she does want it. She just wants my best work and not something half-assed. And I told her that if she thinks my crocheting a fucking whole blanket and making minimal errors is half-assing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take long for me to fix it. If you know anything about crocheting, you know that if I made an error on row 36 of 1,115 row blanket, that's essentially starting over again.
Yep.
Anyway, I come to you all. Am I the asshole?
Man.
No, give me the blanket.
This is a sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
You asked for her to do it with no money. You didn't like, I'll pay you to make a blanket for me. You're asking them to give you something for free.
And it didn't even seem tied to any like, oh, this is like the wedding gift or like a baby gift or anything. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll give you a blanket.
Yeah.
Not even.
And you agreed, and it does take time to do. Be grateful. My mom actually does this. She's made blankets for me and my sister. She's made it for like kids, like when they're born. I don't think I ever looked at the quality of it. I'm like,
You made this?
you made this? Thank you. This is
Thank
cool that
you.
you made it. I wouldn't be like, oh man, it's kind of messed up a stitch on there in the middle. You just gave this to me. It's a gift. Thank you for it.
Yeah.
And keep it pushing.
And then the first thing she did was inspect it too.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like
crazy.
I mean, I guess she said thanks and everything, but like as soon as she was done saying, oh, thank you.
Are you my supervisor? What's
Right.
going on here?
What's this?
You can only do that if you commission the blanket to be made. If you're paying them money, and then you have the right to be like, yeah, this is not
What
the
I
quality
want.
what I would pay for.
Yeah.
But if it's a
But you're
gift,
not even paying for it.
if it's a gift you asked me to do, and I said yes, I'm like, then you get what you get.
Sorry, charges are $200 a row.
Yeah,
That's the best way to
my
fix.
time, even more, man.
Yeah. I don't know. That's so crazy. So Sam one, she quilted. She was into quilting last year. I have not seen her since. She's probably quilted out now at this point, but she made me a quilt for Christmas, and I thought it was really cool. Like you're saying, you're like, you made this for me.
Right.
If anything, Sammy was the one who was like, oh, by the way, ignore that thing in the top right. I did not mean to do that. That was a little mistake. Or like, so that red thing, that is my blood. I cut myself, and I couldn't, I tried to get it out.
You're
but
looking pale, Sam.
And I'm like, Sam, this is amazing. I would have never seen that. I'm not looking for mistakes. I just appreciate that you did this for me. That's very cool. Thank you. And I can't imagine receiving a gift like we're all saying, free will because you wanted to do something because you care for somebody, and immediately being like, okay, so what's this? Like,
Well, it depends how much blood is on it. If it's a lot of,
I'm like,
I'm
did
probably
you
saying
murder somebody on
something.
this, Sammy?
You didn't clean it before you gave it to
I will say on the other hand though, if it was like, hey, what do you want? It's like, oh yeah, I like green and blue, and then you brought like red and yellow. I'd be like,
But I'm still accepting it.
right, I'd
I'm
probably
like,
still
thank
accept
you.
it, but it'd be like, this isn't what I.
No, I'm like, you hate me,
asked
man.
me what I wanted. I would still like, this isn't really what I asked for, but like, I would still
side
take
of the
it.
primary color
Really think
wheel.
that's the only way you could be mad, I think.
And I get that, but in the story, she did do everything
got
that they
you.
No,
asked.
that's what I'm saying.
wanted.
That's what I'm saying. The only time when someone like brings you something, I'd be like, I'd question it, but I wouldn't be like, oh, take this home and make it the right color. Like I
Right.
wouldn't do that. But
Yeah.
I thought you said it was gonna be these
Actually,
colors.
I do want to see a picture of it. Show us a picture of the blanket. It's like actually truly bad. It's like everything to real. No, you still should have took it. You still should have took that.
Man.
Also, who is looking at their blankets?
Well, also, like,
Like, who's inspecting their blankets? Like, oh, I'm only going to focus on this.
I
And
care
you just
about warmth.
Throw it on. Yeah, you just throw it on.
100%.
And
If I
how
feel
soft it
warm,
is.
yeah, I'm like, yes, I love it.
I will say if it's like a true perfectionist, I can kind of get it where it's like, I don't know if I can use this, but at the same time, it's like, take this back and make me the finished product is not the way to get around that. It's like, oh, thank you for making this, but I don't know if I can use it. I'm going to focus too much on this. I'm sorry. Like that, I feel like that would be a better solution if you knew you really couldn't use a blanket because it had a couple different missed stitches or whatever.
I mean, I guess that's that, but honestly, I would just receive the gifts.
I would
Yeah.
receive
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I would, and then I would never use it,
Yeah.
and I would every time I love it.
I
Thank you
love
so
it.
much. But honestly, if there are probably people that would rather just prefer to be honest and be like, I'm not going to use this. Honestly, I would probably take that as insulting, so that would be hard for the person to be like, okay, especially after you're like, here's the color.
Right. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to like, I don't know, pay you for your time or something. If you made me this for free and then I didn't really want to accept it, I'd find some way to make it up to you rather than just like, oh, just take
I
it
think
back.
that's
I don't
good.
want it. Like,
But I do agree with you where you're
Yeah.
like, after you see it and you're not pleased with it, you have all these things of like critiquing it. Because to me, if I were to make the mistake of thinking that it was a partially finished thing, and then they're like, no, this is finished, I'd be like, oh, it's great. Thank you so much. I would not be like, oh, well, it's not finished, honey. Like, you got this, and this to
it's
work
not
on.
finished for me.
No. You're not done. It's like, no, what are you talking about? Am I the asshole for no longer giving support to my wife's family after I became successful with my own company, after they talked down on me?
Oh.
So you're getting support from me and you want to talk down to me when I send you money each month? Am I the asshole for no longer giving support to my wife's family after I became successful with my own company, after they talked down on me? My early 30s wife, mid 20s, grew up in a fairly poor environment. Her grandpa had money, but her mom didn't, and her sister didn't. My wife had an incredibly strong work ethic. She's probably more defined as a workaholic. When I first met her, I was in trucking, making about $50K to $70K a year. Since then, I've developed a niche for a specialty marketing field and became very good at it. All of my friends encouraged me to go into business for myself with a marketing company. My wife was fully supportive of this, even after we discussed the financial difficulties we would have for the first year or so due to a limited budget. I made sure that she knew that some months I may not get a paycheck from the business. My salary is paid monthly. Her family, however, were not. They accused me of neglecting my family, being lazy, not wanting to work, etc. They would constantly be bringing up the fact that I didn't have a job because I was always home working remote. She would defend me, but they would ignore it and continue to call me lazy and a deadbeat for putting my daughter in daycare while I worked from home. I was still driving a truck part-time to have steady and reliable income, but it was only half of what I was making in a good week. In the last year, I have grown my income from my business beyond what I was making in trucking and have very little overhead. Since we cut costs back when I first started, we realized a lot of things we were paying for we could do without or found other alternatives, and we never really added those expenses back. So it's like we have significantly more money now. I still drive a semi occasionally for a friend who owns his truck, mainly to keep my CDL active and stay knowledgeable in the industry as a fallback. Her family has taken note and they're constantly asking to go out to eat with us, hang out with us, etc., and then get mad when I never pay for the meals, the outing, the vacation, etc. Aside from my part of the tab, obviously. Looking back, I understand why they never had money. They were living well beyond their means, but if it makes them happy, then it is what it is. I let my wife do whatever she wants with her money, which sometimes includes buying stuff for her family, which I support her doing with her money if that's how she wants to spend it. But I make sure that she knows that I don't want a dime of my money going to her family, since they were very unsupportive of what made us our money and would go as far as talk down on me for doing what led to our money. Am I the asshole?
No.
No.
Like, I love the whole, you're a deadbeat. You work from home and you're not taking care of your daughter. You send her to daycare. I'm like, so I'm a deadbeat that rather than trying to focus on my job and then, stop doing that with the daughter, I'm sending her to daycare where someone can actually give her the proper attention. Well, no, I can't. Like,
Yeah, to me, it sounds like a generational issue. Like, I feel like there are some people who grew up in different generations that don't understand like what a remote job is and how you can make a very good living never leaving your house. And also maybe don't fully understand the aspect of like when you are starting a business, you're not making as much money or whatever. So I think that's one thing. I think it might be generational. And then also it reminds me of the first story that we did, or one of the other stories, where it's a matter of your family feeling like they're obligated to whatever you make when they didn't respect you or like have relationship with you, whether they were your family or not. I don't have a relationship with you where I would be out here paying for you. So I don't have that expectation that just because I have the money, I'm going to be paying for you or taking care of you when you're the one that wanted to go out. And two, we don't have a good relationship for me to be like, hey, I got it. Because then you're taking advantage of me and I'm allowing that. But I understand that that's what you're trying to do. So I'm not allowing that.
Right. And it's like, I know some people are of the mindset of like, well, if you invite me out for lunch or dinner, I expect you to pay for it. Or if I invite you out, you know, I'm going to pay for it or whatever. But I'm like, that's a lot different when it comes to like a vacation, right? Like, I'm not like, hey, you guys want to go to like Cuba or wherever? We just go vacation somewhere? And then you're like, well, why aren't you paying for my tickets? Like, what do you mean? Like, that's not how this works.
This economy is crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I feel like whenever I invite people out, I feel like I'm like, hey, I'm paying for myself. You don't have to worry about me.
I guess normally it's more of a maybe a dating thing. With your best going out on a date is what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if his whole internal conflict is the fact that it's his wife's family, but you shouldn't feel obligated to take care of people that have made their own decisions. My biggest thing is if you still feel like somewhat conflicted because it is your wife's family, the best thing to do is just get them financial help. You don't have to pay to help them. Get them the knowledge so that they can learn, oh, the decisions I'm making are bad financially. And if they take it, fine. But at least you could say you've helped some way.
If they want to take, want to take it.
That's the whole thing is like, with the title of it, oh, is it bad that I'm not supporting them? Like, you were never really supporting them. You were giving them luxuries. Like, they weren't in a I mean, yeah, they're living above their means, and maybe there's certain things that they can't do in life because they're living above their means, or maybe sometimes they come on harder times. So I'm like, you're like giving them stuff. You're not even buying them like food and like, well, I mean, dinner and lunch, but like, you're not buying them like necessities. It didn't seem like.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was just buying them things that is extra. So I'm like, you're supporting them, but you're not really supporting them. Like,
Yeah, and I don't think he actually ever really got to the point where he was supporting them. It's whatever the wife is able to give from her paychecks. And then I think they were trying to get, like you're saying, extra stuff.
yeah,
But I don't think he ever actually did anything.
didn't feel like it, but maybe that's just part of the story he didn't bring up. I don't know. But yeah,
I do always hello for agreements of the whole don't take anything personal. So I'm like becoming more aware of situations of how people are receiving me or saying things to me about how it isn't about me. So when they're calling him a deadbeat, they're saying all these things. I'm like, this is literally coming out of your experiences. Like something happened to you and now you portray everyone in this way. You say everyone's like this because they're exhibiting this characteristic or he's doing these things. You're working from home. Sometimes you don't pull paychecks because the business can't do it. So you're like, you have no value. And because of situations in my life, I'm putting that on you. Now, and I think that's where you come back and you're like, well, then I'm not going to do anything for you now because you treated me this way, which I do think is you're right. You don't have to do anything for anybody. But I'm not going to have animosity to these people because you're only speaking from your experience, from seemingly limited experience of what the situation, but you're speaking from that. So I'm not putting it on you that I'm like, I don't like her family because they're like this. I'm just like, they're ignorant. They don't know. That I think I can be more receptive to people now and get less angry because I know you're just speaking from something that's not about me. As long as I know that I am trying to help my family, this is something that we're riding through, and it did end up working out for this guy where he's like, now we're successful. We cut back on things. We have more money now. I know that. So what you think about me doesn't make sense. And then I think some of the anger that you may have towards them or the frustration you have with them might go away. It won't go away. I don't think it has to be like, well, now I want to help them now because I see where they are. But it might get rid of maybe some animosity that could come between you and the wife. Didn't mention anything that happened between the wife, but I'm like, that just happens.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if you have this kind of vibe about the family, it could alleviate some of that. So I would say you don't have to do anything for them. You don't have to support them, but maybe change your perspective again about where they're coming from. Because we're all just what we know. That's all we are. It's just like what we know is how we see the world and how we approach the world and what we put out in the world. And some people just know less. And you can say it's their fault for knowing less, but also, did you know things? There's things you don't know that's actively harming you. And you would want people to show grace to you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I think the best thing he could do is get them in financial courses, because at least they get the knowledge. You're teaching a man how to fish, not giving him fish anymore.
But I think it's still partially the whole entitlement of like, why aren't you paying for vacations and dinner? I think that's still another problem outside of just financial literacy and whatnot, you know?
Yeah, it's like an expectation that they have.
Because it's one thing when they're shooting you down because you're pursuing your own business proposition and it doesn't look good to them.
Yeah.
But then it's like once you've made it and they're like, well, why aren't you paying for my stuff? It's like, I don't really have to. There's nothing I can do to show you and teach you any class where it's like I don't have to pay for you anything that you have.
Yeah, just being honest on saying that, though. I think that's probably what I would have did. I would have told them the honest truth, like, I'm not obligated, but you guys are also living way above your means. So let's get you some knowledge. Yeah. So then you can see where I'm coming from, at least.
Either that or tell them, like, you know what, I'll help you out a little bit. This is the cap of money you get every year or whatever. Like, you know, something like that where you're like, hey, something where at least you have a conversation about it. I can see that.
Honestly, I tell them, you can pay for your part, you can pay for your things. All I'm going to worry about is the tip.
Like this next story. Which actually is going to be our story for patrons.
Yes.
So we are filming an extra story right now for Patreon. We're going to do that multiple times a month. That's something new that we're going to do for the people that do support us on Patreon. We just want to give you guys something extra. And we're always trying to figure out like how we can add value to Patreon. But if you're not on Patreon and you're not supporting us financially, that is absolutely fine too. We still have so many things for free, and that's how we're going to keep it, is mostly everything is going to be available to access for everybody, because even you guys watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, that is the biggest, most important thing for us.
Yes.
And even just seeing how much we've grown in the past few years. Thank you guys for 80,000, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, we just appreciate you guys watching, and that's the biggest thing. But for people that do want to do more, we do have a Patreon. But if you don't support us on Patreon, that's perfectly fine. We appreciate you guys just watching us. So
except Adventuring.
Except
oh my God.
I like Adventuring, but Sam, he actually doesn't like you, but he likes you Adventuring, like and you know that.
There's one subscriber, I'm like, I feel it in the number every time, like, Adventuring's in there.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Comfort Level Pod. Oh my Thank you, Steph, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Madi
just seeing me stutter through these outros. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.